If you ask my family what I do, it's kind of funny. They have no idea. My dad actually just told me the other day, he's like, yeah, like apartments, she does things for them. And I was like, Dad, come on, really hype me up. I was like, I'm a VP of marketing and recruiting for a multifamily company that owns and third parties like apartments. And I said, they're luxury deals. And he was like, okay. I was like, let's write it down because I feel like you should really like shout out your kid.
In this episode of Humans of Multifamily, I sit down with Ariel Baranauckas, Vice President of Marketing and Recruiting at Carter Haston. She didn't set out to build a career in property management. She started with a part-time leasing job and ended up walking 16 properties a week as a VP. What drove her wasn't titles, it was people. From championing on-site teams to challenging how leadership shows up, Ariel leads with action, empathy, and a deep respect for the work behind the scenes. This episode is a masterclass in people-first leadership.
I love what I do. A lot of people, like my bosses, they were like, we're not worried about you not coming back. And I think a lot of people sometimes do worry, like, are you coming back? I'm like, oh, I will be back. So like a lot of people are like, you're crazy. I'm like, I'm not crazy. I'm like being proactive so that when I return, I'm ready to go and I'm not missing anything. That kind of opened my eyes to being like, you know what? It is really tough. Everybody wants to meet, but don't strain yourself and lose sight of why you're there for those conferences. Plan strategically, which is hard.
How do you manage now with a kid and both of you working? I mean, we talked about it, I think, off air, the challenges that come with it.
It has been...
Property managers lose hours chasing rent, while delinquency and filing costs add up to massive losses. The financial impact? Millions in unpaid rent sold to collections agencies that recover just 20 to 30%, while taking a huge cut. Now, the Kelsey you trust for leasing helps you recover more rent in-house, reducing reliance on agencies and maximizing revenue. With Collections AI, Kelsey automates rent and move-out collections, from the first missed payment to move-out, while ensuring compliance across jurisdictions. Easily train and set up Kelsey on your company's collections process, including CARES and state-regulated workflows. She doesn't just set reminders. Kelsey answers resident questions, tracks promise to pay dates, and follows up persistently to keep payments on track. Need oversight? Corporate teams can monitor collections in real time with Zuma's dashboard, while site teams use the Chrome Assistant to track payments and even respond as Kelsey when needed. Kelsey also evaluates resident risk with AI, providing instant insights to help you make smarter renewal decisions. The impact? Doubles collections velocity, reduces filings, cuts site team workload by 85%. Stop leaving rent revenue on the table. Let Zuma's Collections AI handle the heavy lifting while you focus on what matters. Get started today.
I'm trying to think. Florida has something like that where like we would go out and like called it Party Cove. And then when we wanted to go like eat or something, we would pull into like an area that had like restaurants all on the side. And you could only pick from 3, but it's like either this one, or this one. And then you get back on your boat and you get back on there.
Yeah, I kind of like that because I hate like just being like trapped on the boat, and it's like nice to just like get off.
I get scared.
Yeah.
My sister's doing a cruise for, I guess, like honeymoon thing. And she's like, we're opening it to families. She's like, are you going to go? And I said, no, I want to get off when I want to get off. I don't like this concept of a boat and like staying there.
Yeah.
So I can't.
The craziest, actually, one of the most fun vacations I've ever done was when I was like 7 on a cruise. My family did like, I think it was like princess cruises with like 3 other families. And I think as a kid, it was just like insane because you had unlimited, you get these like cards, unlimited everything. And I was like, oh my God, I could just get like another hamburger or like another Coke,
ice cream, whatever you wanted.
And it was just like infinite. I was like, wow, this is crazy. And then you had all your friends on this boat.
I feel like as a kid, I could probably get on with it, but I think now as an adult, I know too much.
Yeah.
And I get nervous.
Yeah. Wait, you have, how many siblings did you say you have?
9.
Wow.
Yeah.
And where do you sit in the stack rank of age?
I'm at the top, so I'm 35, and he's 36. So,
okay.
Yeah.
No, but your kid, you said siblings, you have 9 siblings, including you.
Yeah.
Wow. And you're the oldest sibling. Is that?
One older than me.
One older than you.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
Yeah. It was
Wow.
fun. I will say, like, thinking about it, like, my husband's polar opposite. He's an only child. And so when our family started coming together, I was nervous. I'm like, okay, I've seen your family, you're solo, you're by yourself. Mine is like a chaotic, like, mess, but like, I love it. So, but he eats it up. I think it's because he didn't have that when he was growing up. Like, of course, he had his cousins and aunts and uncles, and that's big, but we were just big by ourselves.
That's wild. So what are the things that like people wouldn't know about in terms of the challenges of having nine kids?
Honestly, I don't know, because to me it's so normal.
It's so
but I would
normal.
say, like, we learned to share, like, better, in the sense that, like, everything was all of ours. Like, it was, no one had their own item because there's so many of us. So I don't know. I was just super blessed to have that many kids, because then there was always something to do, whether it's
Yeah.
like brother or sister, or like we're going to go outside and play. And I actually was just telling our team about it, but I was like, we were the best at Halloween because of how many kids there were. So like the biggest one is like when we were the Flintstones. I don't love the photo that we had, but it's like classic. Like I was Wilma and he was Fred, and like Sindel was like Betty, and we just had everybody. So like Halloween photos or like photo shoots, everything was just up here
Yeah.
with like, what are we gonna do this year? And then my mom made the costumes, and she's a good seamstress, so like they were legit.
That's so cool. And how many siblings did your parents have? Or do they have?
So it's kind of like half siblings. So everybody's kind of like sectioned off. But my dad's in a family of 5. So, and then she's solo. So it's kind of funny
Yeah.
how that happens.
Yeah, that's crazy. And how do you feel like that informed, like, if your husband only had one kid and you had so many one sibling, how did that, like, how are you guys thinking about,
Family.
yeah.
We're still getting through it. So first kid, he's 8 months tomorrow. Like, we're really excited about just like the growth. So I feel like as a mom, you're so much more maternal. Like, he's inside your belly for, 9 months, and you have this connection that the fathers typically don't. And so in the very beginning, I would say like the first 5 months, like my husband was like, man, this is kind of hard, because like you have this connection, you feed him, you take care of him. That's this maternal bond that you have. But now in the past like month and a half, like he's crawling, he's moving, he's copying like facials. And my husband now has this new bond that he's like, okay, this is the fun part. And I remember talking to Dana Pate when we were in Atlanta together at a friend's birthday. And she was like, the beginning stages are so hard. She was like, but it gets better. Because I was like, can you tell my husband? Because I'm ready for more. Like, I would love a girl and I would love a boy. That's kind of where I'm at. I don't think I want the extended family that I had, because I don't think I can manage. I still want to have like a good work-life balance. And so I think 2 would be good for me, a boy and a girl. But if I end up being just a boy mom, that's fine. But I needed to get my husband on board, because he was like, this is tough. He's like, I miss just going on trips and doing this and doing that. And I'm like, just wait. Like, you're going to have your moment that I have. And he just had that recently. So I'm excited to see what the future holds. But we took off kid number 2 for talking about next until 1 year, which will be August.
Wait, tell me about this thing. I've never heard about that. I don't have any kids, but I've never heard. So basically, the first 6, it makes sense. So the first 6, 8 months, there's obviously a stronger bond with the mother.
Yeah. It's just because, like, one, you're much more connected. Like, I can just remember those moments when, like, I'd be sleeping and, like, he's moving like crazy, kicking and turning, and he does the same thing. So it's almost like, okay, I knew when it was going to happen every time. And then when they're out, like, you go through breastfeeding and there's this extra connection and the skin on skin. Like, it's just something that through my personal experience, it's just a maternal thing, that you just have this very deep bond that sometimes fathers don't get, just because they can't. And so then they're like, okay, for the father side, like, you try to get this skin to skin and like figure out, you can give them a bottle and things like that, but it's just different. So there's that just physical connection. But then also, like, it's just hard. Like, they're crying. Why are they crying? It's either they're hungry, they've got a diaper, or, maybe they're just upset or tired. You don't know what it is. So you have to find time to just figure that out. And I think that's what bothered my husband the most. He's like, I just don't know what the cries are yet. Whereas like I was like, oh, nope, he's hungry. And he's like, how do you know? I'm like, I just know. It's just this mom thing. And my mom's always talked about it. And so it kind of feels cool to say I have the mom thing. Like, I just know. And then now recently my husband's like, oh, he's hungry. I know it. So like he's getting this new excitement that me as like a wife, I'm like, you're getting what I had in the beginning. Finally, it's just a little delayed. So it's kind of cool with how it works.
Where do you guys sit on the spectrum of like being overly prepared parents versus I'm just going to like figure it out as I go?
So with work, I am so organized. Like I love my Excel spreadsheets. I love lists. On my personal side, I am complete opposite. I am like, I haven't booked my flight for AIM. I do have my hotel room because I know AIM gets sold out, but like I kind of like to go with the flow. And so it's funny that my husband is very opposite. He is very like, these need to be organized for home, for work, for life. And so it's just interesting, the beautiful chaos. So we've kind of taken things from both our families. Like, how did we both grow up? How do we want to raise our kid? How do we live our lives? And we are the parents that are like, okay, we like a schedule, but we're okay to be off schedule. So like if he has to go take a nap at, 9:30, if he's not tired, I'm not going to put him down for a nap because I know he's going to fall asleep sometime between 9 and 10. Or like on the weekends, we like to go out and like try a new Nashville restaurant or go shopping or just get out of the house. But we're not going to not go because he needs to sleep for 2 hours, 2 times a day kind of thing. So we kind of flow with it. So this weekend he had 2 1-hour naps and I was okay with it. Or like when we went to New York, everything for my birthday was not on schedule. And I think it's okay to be like that because we still want to live like our lives and we want to bring baby in and it's okay.
Yeah, it's so funny. I feel like, I don't know if this is a generational thing, but like my parents are so go with the flow, like even now and definitely growing up. Like my dad is to another level of like, yeah, he's like playing in the playground somewhere. He like, I don't know where he is, but he's 3 years old. He'll figure it out. He'll probably find his way back and super, super casual, chill. My mom is a little bit more, but not like super, they weren't like reading and like, this is how you parent and all this stuff. And I feel like I turned out fine. And it's funny to see my sister, hopefully fine, maybe debatable. But my sister recently had a kid 3 months ago almost or so.
Congrats.
And her and her husband are both doctors. So they're like doing all the schedule, this 2 hour. When you said that 2 hour thing, it like reminded me of them. Like 2 hours sleep. They have like this like device that does a noise while it's sleeping. They have all this like technology. And sometimes I'm wondering, I'm like, there's so many variables in the world that you can control and many that you can't control. And it seems really like challenging to like really determine, because I'm going to do all of these things, this kid is going to turn out. This is how it's going to be. Exactly.
Yeah.
Because like, to me, the thing that scares me when I become a parent or if I become a parent is you can do everything right and like something bad happens out of your control and it has a massive impact. And I don't know if that's necessarily an excuse to be like, I don't need to like be prepared, but I do think about whether it actually has the impact that people think.
I agree. I think, it's hard to be like, it has to go this way and you're going to get this because we both had completely 2 different lifestyles on how we grew up. Like my dad was 18 and in the Army and my mom was in the Army. And it's like thinking of what they did in stories. They're like, wow, this is cool. We didn't have this. We didn't have that. They just talk about all these things that they didn't have. And I feel like I'm pretty cool. Like you said, you're like, I feel like I'm great. Yeah. And then like I hear, my husband's story and like he was adopted and, his parents, they are planners. And so they were very much like, I will say like I pride them on how much photos they have and everything's organized in a nice plastic container of like what year, how old. And like, I don't have that. Like, I think I have things thrown around in scrapbooks and stuff. And we were like, just not that way. And I wish we were, because I'm like, I love photos and memories, but they're very much planners. And so I think he gets it from them. But I think that's why, like, for me, at least, the yin and yang. My husband and I are polar opposites. We attracted to each other. I think when I'm upset or going through something, he's like a rock, and then vice versa, the same thing. And I think the whole control your controllables, we take that into like life, like with all of this planning that I was talking about. I'm like, I'm going to the Derby, and then I have AIM, and then I'm in California, he's in Nashville, then we go to Dallas, and then I'm going to meet him in Dallas. It's like I'm controlling what I can, and I'm trying not to let things on the outside kind of, I guess, fuzzy that up. But that's just also me in work too. Like I tell my team all the time, like they're like, what about training? What about pricing and operations? I'm like, control your controllables, focus on those things, and everything else will fall into place, because you can't control what training's doing. You can't control what asset management is doing. You can partner with them, but control what you can in your digital marketing or marketing section, and we're going to be fine, and I'm going to be happy with it. Because if you can sign off on your day with like your signature in permanent marker saying, I did that, I controlled this, here are some of the other things we need to work on, we'll work on those with whoever we need to. So I do take that personally and professionally.
Yeah, I love that control your controllables. I feel like that, at least David, Danielle, and traveling with me have heard me say this so many times, but my version of that is like agency. And like having agency, and I think it's just like super important to have agency and not like, yeah, exactly. Know what you can control and take control of that and own it, rather than like looking at all the things you can't control and then wasting mind space and energy and
getting overwhelmed, anxiety. That's how I alleviate that. I'm like, no, control what you can. Try not to focus on those things. Write them down, because we do need to tackle them with other people, but that's not your realm.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like it just like makes you like a happier person, because then you're not like complaining about like, oh, this like government thing passed or that. Like, it's just like, just try to own what you can own, take control, and I feel like to a pretty large degree you can like influence your environment and your outcome. And of course, there's circumstances and situations where things happen, or you can't, or you have a hand that's not favorable, but like at least you can control some things, and you should just focus on that. And so
it's a mindset.
So you said both your parents were in the Army.
Mm-hmm.
Really? Is that how they met?
No, they met in my very small town. And
what town is that?
Port Lavaca, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
So it's in between Corpus Christi and Houston. Very small town. Like we have a Walmart, we have one highway. You can probably get through it. My husband jokes, but he's like, probably 2 minutes. And I'm like, a little bit more than that. Come on. But it's on the beach.
You didn't grow up in the same town.
No. But he's been to visit a few times. He's like, this is crazy. This is super small. I'm like, now you know why I wanted to get out. Not just because I don't like it, but I love city. Like if I could live anywhere, like I would choose New York. It just doesn't make sense though. I like space, and I have dog, and you need those things, especially.
You would choose New York.
Yeah.
Why is that?
So it's a thing with me and my husband. So we went probably 6 months into dating, and it was just something we did together that I've never done before. I went to New York for 24 hours to go to Google, and I left. He showed me the city. I just fell in love with it. I love that there are probably 20 different languages when you're just walking in a span of a minute. I love the city life. Like I don't mind not having a car. I'd love to walk around or Uber. I love everything kind of at your fingertips, and I love like the different style. Like I would love just to wake up, go downstairs, walk to go get fresh flowers and a coffee, and then walk to my office. Like I love it. And it's just beautiful in my eyes.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, my friend recently moved to New York, and he's just like from LA, and he's just obsessed with it. And I think for me too, I feel like I have to live. I feel like everybody has to live in New York at least for like a couple of years to experience it, because it's just different. The thing that's insane about it, I remember going a couple of years ago, and it was like, I think I had flown in late, and it was like I was like starving, and it was like Wednesday at like 11:30 p.m. or like Thursday morning at like 1 a.m. And I'm like, let me like go like
find something.
I like go outside, and I see this like massive line for like this like food truck thing, and I'm like, what are people? And there's like tons of people all over. I'm like, what are people doing right now, like Thursday at 1 a.m.?
it's
crazy.
It's just life there.
Yeah.
It is the city that never sleeps. But I feel like even as like a parent, like I'd still live there in a heartbeat. It just, again, I love my space. I just don't know how it would work, like especially financially, like for like a 3,000 square foot something, whether it's like a townhome or probably a condo, you're just not going to get that, or you're going to be paying buku dollars. So sometimes it just doesn't make sense. So the way that we live through it is we try to go there twice a year, and we try to make them long trips, whether it's like 7 days, 10 days, and we act like we live there. So we just try not to, we've already done touristy stuff, so I think that helps. But now we're just like, okay, we have his aunt that lives in Jersey, his best friend lives in Jersey, and then we just kind of go with the flow, and we just save tons of restaurants, and there's just a long list where we just check mark every time we go, and just there, it's always something like to eat, to see, to do. I also love shopping, so that's the Mecca right there in the United States.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I would do it in a heartbeat.
So going back to your parents, having two military parents, does that how did that impact? Like, are they? Does that impact their parenting style in the way that I would think, or no?
No. It's funny. So. My dad actually got out of the Army when I was 3, so he could raise me. And he was in Desert Storm, got a call. My mom got a little overwhelmed with just being alone with a newborn, and they were young parents, 18 and 19. So he's just not like that. My dad, I call him the cool cat dad, because he had me so young. Like, it's really cool that, you know, when I was in college, he came to hang out with me in college, and I'd take him out with like my sorority sisters, and, you know, then, you know, dated a frat boy. And so like he kind of got initiated, and he thought it was really cool. So it's kind of funny. Like, we have different, you know, father-daughter moments than most, I think, because he had me so young, but he wasn't very like structured or like military style schedule. It was just something that he did as soon as he graduated, high school. And it was kind of one of those things, you either in town, most people like go to the Army, they do something in health or education, or there's this big industrial plant that pretty much runs everybody works there. So he went the military way. I lived and born in Tennessee, Kentucky. It's like right on the line in Fort Hood. And we lived there for 3 years until he got out of Desert Storm, came home, and then we moved to Texas, where his family is, so all my aunts and uncles, grandparents, and then kind of stayed there till college. And so it kind of interesting, like none of that, I'm sure, like we went to go visit, and he's like, oh, I remember this, and we had to do this and that, and he gets like really pumped, and to see my dad in that light of what he used to do, and like be proud of, you know, what he did in serving the country, and like the crazy things that they had to do. It's fun, but like never did I feel that way when we were growing up. And same thing with my mom, like they were in it shorter for the time frame like than most, but never like that crazy structure that I hear. So I can't connect with that. I didn't have it.
Were you as a kid? I'm really curious. Were you similar to how you are now? Like pretty extroverted and.
I always wanted to have the sleepovers. I always wanted people over. My cousin, funny enough, she'd be like, Ariel always has her friends over. And like, I always wanted to be with people. And like, I think it's from like a larger family kind of standpoint. But I want to do something. So that was the thing, like with me and my dad too, is like, let's go somewhere. So we would never be at home on the weekend. It'd be like, let's go to San Antonio, Texas. Let's go to Corpus. Let's go to Houston. And like, we never really sat a lot, because he's like, let's do things. And if, you know, my daughter wants to go, then we're going to go, which is kind of funny, because now my, you know, 5th grader brother, my 8th grader brother, they kind of want to stay home. So it's funny how like they're kind of opposite of me. Like if my dad's like, let's go to Corpus, they're both like, nah, we're homebodies, or like we want to play games or whatever boys do.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool, like how we grew up.
I feel like your parents' parenting style must be so different from the first kid to the 9th kid. No? No.
So with my dad, I feel like it might be the girl and boy thing. Okay. He's a lot tougher, I think, on them. I was like always cried if something like made me sad, which is kind of funny because like before pregnancy, I felt like I was not a crier. Like anything like trying to make me sad, a TV show, a movie, I would just be stone cold. My mom would be like, come on now, like, be nice. And I'm like, I just can't. But post-pregnancy, I cry all the time. Any show, Bachelor, Golden Bachelor, I probably cried every episode. So it's kind of funny how your emotions switch on and off. Like as a kid, I was a crier, super emotional. And then like probably high school through college, not emotionally like kind of
Yeah.
crying or anything or like letting anything get to me. And then now I'm back at being like emotional with like sad things or like, anything.
That's so
like,
crazy.
loving.
Why do you think that? Do you think that's just because you become a more empathetic human when you have a kid?
I think so for at least this part. For like the growing up and doing things, I think you get like tough, especially with like siblings and stuff. You get just tougher, like thick skin. I think so. That's I think how it transitioned as I got older and into college. And then like even post college, I feel like there was not a lot of emotions there. And I just tried not to let things get to me. I think that's what it was, is like just trying to be like, look, control your controllables. And like, why should you have to cry? I almost thought like crying was like a weakness. But it's really not. So I think it was also just a mindset. I was like, I got this. Like, I'm strong. I'm going to do my thing. I want to grow. I want to get out of a small town, and I want to do all these things. Like, if you ask my family what I do, it's kind of funny. They have no idea. Like, my dad actually just told me the other day, he's like, yeah, like apartments, she does things for them. And I was like, Dad, come on, really hype me up. I was like, I'm a VP of marketing and recruiting for a multifamily company that owns and third parties like apartments. And I said, they're luxury deals. And he was like, okay. I was like, let's write it down because I feel like you should really like shout out your kid. But they don't get it. But it's because like in our town, like when I grew up, there were 2 apartments and they were more like affordable.
Yeah.
So like luxury living is not a thing that they're aware of. I think now they are, because now the town closest to us like has really nice like luxury apartments, and now like University of Houston has like a second location in this town. So I think it's coming up, but then they didn't even know. I think it's kind of funny.
Why were you so driven to like get out of your small town?
Movies, I think like seeing people.
You remember actually watching movies and
I just thinking like, I want to go, I want to do this. I want to get out of my town. I also love cities. So like when my dad would take me to Houston and Corpus and like we'd go places, or like when I was with my mom and we'd be, doing like our RV trips or things like that, I'd see cities and I see the world, but United States is kind of where I saw things. And I'm like, I want to get out. I want to do things. Like I just always had this drive to be like, go. I didn't know what I wanted to do yet, other than I just don't want to be in a small town. I wanted to be a big city and live that life. And so when I went to college, it was at Texas State in San Marcos, which is in between San Antonio and Austin. And so like having not so much like a culture shock of like going to Austin, but I was like right there in between, because San Marcos is still kind of small, but if I wanted, big city, like it's right there. And so I think I got the best of both worlds. And then I realized I want bigger, so I went from Texas State and then I moved to Florida, and I was in Miami and Boca and Delray Beach areas. And then, I got a promotion and they're like, hey, you want to move to Dallas? I'm like, yeah, I'll move to Dallas. And then like, I just kept going. And that's how I ended up in Nashville, is because like, I'm very flexible and I want to go what, drives me, which is normally like the passion of the job. And I think that's just always how it's been. I wanted to go somewhere and do something and make an impact. And I found it through the apartment like style of life.
And how did the growing up in a small town affect the siblings differently? Did everybody have this desire?
Funny enough, everybody's kind of everywhere. Brother ended up doing a lot of stuff where he traveled. Like, funny enough, sometimes we'd be in the same city. Like, we were in San Diego at the same time. It was weird. He was doing a project for like furniture for like offices. His company would office like nice office residential stuff. And then my other sister, she does a stuff with like restaurants, opening restaurants all in like Arkansas and Oklahoma. And then she just kind of started taking that to the next level, which is cool. And then other sister, she kind of wanted to stay where she was at, but it was totally fine. But she goes and travels and does things and gets out. So it's kind of funny, all of us did. But then if you look at like my aunts and uncles and like my grandparents, they have stayed in the same town since I know. So my dad lives there. My uncles live there. My aunt lives there. My grandparents live there. Some cousins still live there. They've never gotten out of the town, which is fine. But they always are like, oh, Ariel never sits still. She's never going to come see us because we don't have a Starbucks. And we just got one 2 years ago, I think. And so it was a big deal that our town got a Starbucks. I don't know who did it, but it was pretty amazing. But I don't like to go home because I like the hustle and bustle. And it is like a lazy beach town, like very cool, low key. And I like to be go, go, go.
So I guess when you think about your childhood and growing up in this town overall, what are the first emotions that come to mind? Would you say that it was like overwhelmingly easy, go with the flow? You didn't have, like, what are the emotions that come to mind?
I loved it. I wouldn't change it. I think it was great for growing up. And as I think of like my son, I'm like, how do I want that to look? Because a small town growing up was perfect, actually. Like, it was nice to know everybody's business. You knew what everybody was doing. You know who was running the paper. I did cheerleading. So it was just like I was in it always. Sports, every sports game, every time that they're having one. I don't know. And then like you said, you used to just go out and be like, oh, he's over there on the playground. Like in a small town, like we were just running around the town, legit, because it's that small. But
And everybody knows everybody.
Everybody knows everybody.
So
and everybody knows like who your parents are, who your grandparents are, if your great grandparents are there, like everybody knows. And so like it's kind of funny, like when like some of my friends that still live there, they're like, how's Ariel doing? Where's she going? This time she's like, where is Carmen San Diego?
Yeah.
Is kind of like how they look at me,
Yeah.
which is kind of funny. But it's just, I loved it. I thinking about like a city kid, wasn't my husband either because they're on the outskirts of Minneapolis, but like, I loved that. I would hope that I can do that for my kid and have some sort of like smaller community. But I can't go back to like a small town. So like we just recently moved out of Nashville a little bit. One, just because of space and basically how Nashville is right now. They tear down a house, they build two. And then like you have this much space between you and your neighbor. And so now we have this huge yard. We've got like a 2-car garage. Like it's just nice to have space. And I'm realizing that. But like, if we were to stay here in Nashville, like we're trying to find like our niche community that it's still close to, Nashville and a city per se, but like it's kind of trying to bring what we want for our kid as he grows up and starts going to school. Like I grew up with 250 people at my school and he grew up with like, I think he said 800 people and kind of that's a lot. I mean, So I'm like, where do we kind of find a happy medium? Yeah. So it's interesting.
Where else does being polar opposites, as you said, create conflict and harmony, like in a relationship? Because I think like when I think about, I've like really actually evolved my way of thinking about like who I want to like marry and things. I think first it was really about like what are the character traits that I want to embody as a person, ambition, drive, balance, whatever. And how do I find somebody that also embodies those traits? But I think as time has gone on, I've kind of thought about it more as a partnership of traits where I contribute certain qualities that are either inherent or desirable to me. And ideally, I find somebody that complements the character traits or values or personality, maybe not values, but personality traits that I don't have. So I guess now that you have, you're married and it seems like you said polar opposites, or at least different. Like, what are the challenges or points of conflict there?
It's kind of funny. People always say like Instagram, like when you're showing all the good, you never show the bad. And it's like, people are like, you never know what's going on behind closed doors or like what the disagreements are. But like, I feel very lucky and like blessed because like our disagreements are about temperature. And he's very clean and I'm not as clean. Or like I'm the concept where if you're going to walk into a house, you're going to common areas. Those have to be really awesome and clean and set up, like I say, like Instagrammable. But then like my closet, don't go in there. Yeah. There's probably 20 outfits on the floor. Shoes are everywhere. So I would say like that, those are our arguments. Like most of the time it's he's from Minnesota, so he wants the house at like 68. And I'm like, geez, I need a jacket at 72. And we always complain about that. So like our fights are temperature, and like maybe like Ariel, pick up your side of the closet because he's very meticulous. The hangers are like finger distance away. I have everything everywhere. So sometimes I'm like, how do you do it? Because like I'm thriving in this, and sometimes I feel bad, but like there hasn't been anything crazy, which I think like that's when you like find your person. Like I think it's weird when you're like, when you know. We knew after our first date. It's kind of crazy.
I see so many people, because I've talked about this as a topic on the podcast a lot, and like almost everybody just says that. Like I think Adrian, she also said, when you know. And I remember asking her, like, what does that even mean? She's like, I don't know how to explain it.
It is, because I will say, like, I was in a very long relationship for college, 7 years, and then I, took a break. We had broken up, and it was when I was in Dallas, and I took time to, like, take a break. But then I also, when I started dating, you just realize, like, what you like, what you don't like, and then as you get older, you realize what you're willing to, like, kind of yes or no. And so I don't know, like when I first saw him, like I remember I took my watch off, I took my phone, I threw it in my bag, and I just sat and we just had good conversation to where like we had dinner, shared a bottle of wine, and then we went and I was like, ooh, have you been here? And we went to go to another place in Dallas and we had a cocktail, and then I was like, man, I don't want this date to end, but I've never had that feeling from very beginning, just seeing him in person, talking to him, to like our second spot that we had went to. I'm like, I knew. I like had already known. And then I think he told me that maybe it was a month later, he booked first class tickets to New York. He didn't tell me anything yet, but he got my details for the flight. He booked it, and it was for around Christmas. So he did ask me like, hey, do you have plans? And normally people are like, yeah, I go home for Christmas. Normally in the past, like I try to do trips on holidays because I'm like, hey, I deserve a little, something. Yeah. So I was like, yeah, let's go. I'd be happy to go. And so somewhere, I didn't know. And he just did it because he also knew. He was like, we're going. And it wasn't just something like we're going on a trip together, whether it was a couple or whatever it was then. But I just, it was a feeling. And I've never had that feeling ever. So they're right when it's just, and until then you just wait for it.
And wait, so you went on this date, and then how long after did he bring up this trip thing?
So I think he booked it a month after our first date. Okay. And then he brought it up maybe not too long after that, but because his birthday's July 3rd, and July 4th, we were going to Austin where my brother was at and invited us. And so I was like, oh, cool. Like, let's go. We'll do something for your birthday. I took him to a Rangers game. And then I was like, then we'll go to Austin. And my brother's friend lived on Lake Travis. And we were like, let's just go. Lo and behold, I find out my dad's also going with my brothers. I wasn't thinking I'm going to have my like boyfriend at time meet my father after a month and a half of dating. But it happened. And so it was kind of funny how, again, like he met my brother, which was fine. Like my brothers met, people. And so it's kind of like, that's easing it into it. But bringing my dad and my brothers into it, I was like, okay, you're in. And to have a 3-hour car ride too, like I know you can like sit with somebody like while you're on a date and like talking or like getting to know them like, casually. But like we went in. And it's because we both had that feeling. And then, later on, like I said, I think it was 6 months later, we go to New York, and I thought we walked into Tiffany and I thought he was going to propose. Like I was so scared because it was like very like nice setting. We were in the elevator and he's like, they were like, what floor? And I'm like, I don't know what we're doing here. Cause I didn't ask to go to Tiffany. I thought like, we were walking around, we just did Central Park. We walk into Tiffany and I'm like, I don't know what we're doing here. I'm not buying anything from Tiffany today. Like it's just like, I think it was Christmas Eve or something. And so we walk in and they're like, what elevator or what floor? And she was like naming everything. And it was just like men's, women's, engagement, wedding rings and something else. And I didn't know how to answer that because I didn't know what we were doing there. We did not go to the wedding ring floor, but he got me my Christmas gift there and got me some earrings. So I thought that was really nice. But like, that like 3 minutes of like walking into Tiffany's, getting into the elevator, I was just like really hot. And I was just like, oh my God, what would I say? And I was just going through all the things in my head. And I thought I was going to have a Sweet Home Alabama moment. I mean, not that the store closed just for me, but it felt like it was just me.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, he proposed during COVID. So it happened very fast. I want to say like probably a year and a half later, he proposed. And I also did not see it coming. So that was a whole other story. But everything just kept going better and better and better. And like people are like, yeah, you either got closer during COVID or you didn't. We got closer. And then when, the opportunity for Carter Haston had come up, I'm like, okay, I'm moving to Nashville. Like, this is the job. Like, what are you thinking? He's like, I'm going with. Like, this whole time, like, wherever your next journey was, because he was working for Zillow, he could be remote. And so he's like, where are you going to go? And I'm like, Nashville it is. And so that was our first, like, together, like, we're moving to Nashville. And we've been here for 5 years in September, which time flies.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's such a cool story. How much do you weigh? So you mentioned that like he met your parent, your dad and your brother were like super.
Mom was
early
a
on.
month later too. So
Your mom was a month later. So
Yeah.
pretty much everybody. How much do you weigh the opinions of your family members on a person?
I don't know. I feel like you
The
asked
reason
that
why-
question, like, what do you think? But I don't think I do.
You don't? Okay. Yeah, because I feel like I do. Like my
Okay.
friends and like my family, and I'm trying to understand whether it's like a good or bad is not the right delineation, but like why I do that, and like why people do that, and so you like you don't. That's not a factor that you'd weigh in. Of course, you'd want them to like them, but if you like them and know the person, then that's enough.
I think you asked that question, like, hey, what do you think? Like after they meet, but like thinking of like what my friends, like best friends that I've had since college. Like I think one of my friends, his name's Drew. I've known him. Well, let me tell you that story because it's kind of funny. Business calculus. I walk in a little late and I see this guy. I'm like, oh, he's cute. I'm gonna sit by him, but he's in the front row. Do I sit there? Do I not? I sat there. Then he opens his mouth. I'm like, oh, you don't go for my side. So we became like best friends after that. And then like that was 2009, I think. And so I always ask like, hey, what do you think? But like the guy I dated for 7 years, he didn't like him, like, and he told me, but I still did what I wanted. But it was never like there was headbutting. And so I'm like, it's never been that way. But like when I met Brett, everybody had like a whole different, when they also knew. Like there was just this different vibe that you could like feel off of them. Like I was moving apartments, so that's how my mom met him. My sister met him, and everybody was just like, he's just different. Like he's just caring in a way that I've never seen somebody care. Like when the world is like in turmoil and like they were having all these like break-ins for, everything happened about Black Lives Matter and stuff. Like my husband, I felt like this weird aura around him and he was just like so sad. And I'm like, I'm sad too, but like it affected his being that he couldn't do anything. So like I remember one day I woke up and he wasn't there. He was downtown cleaning glass in downtown Dallas with like the news crew and like wanting to do something. And I'm like, you're just someone I've never met in my life. You read about some people like that or you see it on like movies, but like to know a human like that just has so much care. It's just unreal. But I think that just shows to why like it's just meant to be, because then the family, everybody saw that from what I saw and they're like, this is it. And like we just center each other. Like I said, like the yin and yang, it's so true.
How do you manage now with a kid and both of you working? I mean, we talked about it, I think, off air a little bit, and the challenges that come with it.
It has been challenging, one, because I love what I do. So a lot of people, like my bosses, they were like, we're not worried about you not coming back. And I think a lot of people sometimes do worry, like, are you coming back? I'm like, oh, I will be back. I took 28 days for maternity leave off, like business days, and I was back. I did, while on maternity leave, every Tuesday I met with my team for 30 minutes to work on emergencies. And like the baby is like sleeping most of the time. So like a lot of people are like, you're crazy. I'm like, I'm not crazy. I'm like being proactive so that when I return, I'm like ready to go and I'm not missing anything. So for me, that felt like perfect. And for like my team, like they kept things going. And so I felt like I was supporting them, supporting myself. And then when I got back, like my company, lovely enough, allowed me to work remote, which was amazing. And so I kind of worked remote for maybe about 2 months. And then I started gradually going into the office in November and December for like, a day or two, just one to get out to see other adults, with the work-life balance and like kid and now both of us, he's now in office starting in January, 5 days a week. And so in the beginning last year, from basically August to December, it was pretty easy because we both worked from home. We had my sister move down to help us for like our first few months to get things going. And then things just started flowing, which was nice. So like right now, Monday through Friday, if we're both in Nashville, great. We've got this. We have an amazing nanny now that my sister has left. And things are great. But now with travel and conferences, that's where things get a little crazy because for my company, I'm the face to get out there and make sure like people know about Carter Haston, but that also we're meeting with all of our partners. Like we need to make sure like what those conferences do for your end, but also mine. Like it's connection. It's making sure you know about all the new products and how are your accounts going, and then also like the learning part, like the social media summit recently. Like I decided to do the conference different than I used to, and I absolutely loved getting back into the room and hearing what everybody else is doing or what the new, technology is or what is, Rangewater doing, Asset doing. You've got to make sure that you're still comparing so then that way you can always be a step ahead. Mm-hmm. And most of the time I used to just do meetings back to back to back to back. And so this time I was like, you know what? I'm going to have my meetings before breakfast, whether it was 1 or 2. I'm going to do a lunch meeting. I'm going to do an after conference break meeting. I'm going to take a moment for myself, and then I'm going to go to dinner, and I'm going to have all those set up with people that we're either going to be working with or we're working with currently, because if not, I don't ever get to go into the general session room. And so that kind of opened my eyes to being like, you know what, it is really tough. Everybody wants to meet, but don't string yourself and lose sight of why you're there for those conferences, but plan strategically, which is hard.
Yeah, and this is something that on the piece of like going to conferences, seeing what's out there, building relationships, I feel like people only look at the vendor, the partner side, and they're like, oh, they're doing all this stuff, and like obviously they want to build relationships so they can get the business or whatever. But to be honest with you, I think it's almost equally as advantageous for the client side to be building relationships with the partners, because I'll give you an example. Like I was in Mexico City for my birthday, and I've always integrated my life with work, and it's all blended in for the most part. But I was on the boat, and I got an email from one of our customers, pretty upset, and I have a personal relationship with the CEO and the SVP and all of them. And because I have that personal relationship, I was like way more inclined to be super invested.
Yeah.
Texted them, sent the screenshot of the email to Slack and asked what was going on, followed up. And it's because I care about them, and I have a relationship with them, and I want them to succeed. So I think like it's important for, customers to not just see vendors as like this, we're just going to go to these dinners and take these things and all that. And like, you could do that, but the reality is like, it's actually in your best interest to invest in the actual relationship, because you're going to get better service.
Yeah.
They're going to care more, and like, they're going to be more invested, whether it's the salesperson,
100%.
It's the founder, it's whatever. So I think that's one of my realizations is like, yeah, obviously I have a business to run. I want to build relationships, but like, you should also want to build relationships that are genuine, because it's going to serve you.
I think it too, like it's thinking from like our business, like quality leads. I want quality like relationships with my partners. And so that's the reason why too, I'm like, I can't do so many meetings. I'm one person. I want quality conversation. I cannot do 5-10 minute conversations. Like I want to know how you're doing. I want to know how the family's doing. I want to know like where your last trip was. And then I want to get to business on like what's going on. Like, again, like if we're working with each other, what are the good, bad, the ugly, you know, or if there's no ugly, then like what's next? How do we keep going and being better? And then if it's a new product that we haven't experienced, I want dedicated time to learn more, because the vetting process, especially now with all of these tech companies and AI, like it's kind of crazy. You need to vet appropriately. And for me, it takes a while. I'm not going to start a service after meeting you at one conference. It's going to take some time, one, to figure out all the connections, all the technologies working together. Then it's going to go into like, okay, what's the pilot look like? What's the budget? What's the, past the budget look like? And then, there's just so much. So sometimes like for a new partnership, it's probably going to take like, maybe a year, because I really want to vet it out. And then I want to test it on a property that can keep it going past a pilot. I don't think it's fair just to use it and then lose it. And so I really want to be very thoughtful. And I think that's the one thing that I just truly like want to get across is like, I'm not trying to ignore all of these people, but sometimes it's like, I just want quality conversation with the few people that we're actually going to be doing business with, or we're really close with. And I'm happy to do like little combos starting, out the relationship, but there's such a short time. Like, how it is. You're probably running like meeting to meeting to meeting, and it's kind of exhausting. So you want to do it right. I want to be in the moment. Like I said, with like my husband, when I first met him on that date, I threw my watch off, I threw my phone in my bag, and I did not touch it until like the date had ended. I think that's the true value of like the same thing with like professional relationships. I want to be in the moment. And I also I don't like the sales part. Forget that. Like, don't sell me on anything. Sell me on yourself, because I want a friend. Like, multifamily is so true, what they say with the family part. Mm-hmm. Like, I want to know you like personally and make sure that professionally we can tie in together, because I think that's all that it is. It's relationships.
100%. And doing this podcast has made me realize that, like, again, going back to it, it's like, people might listen to this and be like, oh, well, like, is Ariel really choosing the best product, or is, Shiv doing X, Y, and Z? But actually, what Daniel and I talk about, Daniel Paulino, is like, sometimes you actually it's not the best product that necessarily wins. It's like the best product with the best service and attention.
I think it's got to tie in.
Customer support and like the whole, because it's all in one. It's the service that's ultimately being delivered, which is product plus customer support plus all these other things, right? And if you build, this is actually something I've learned. I don't think when I started out, I was like, I didn't actually agree with this point, but I've now more switched over that and realized that it's actually advantageous for both parties to actually build a genuine relationship, because it helps it helps just like get the best product and experience out there.
Yeah, and I think it just goes with the passion of what we all do. Like, you're passionate about your company. I'm passionate about my company, but I'm also passionate about the people that I work with. Like, whether it's like my team, my bigger team of like the company, but also like who we select as our group of people, like apartments.com. I want to make sure that relationship is connected both sides, because we're only going to win when we're on the same side, And so I truly just value people. That's what it comes down to, and like the relationships. And I'll take the time to like have all kinds of new meetings, but give me time to work through what, you might not know what's going behind the scenes. So like, AIM's coming up, and, I've set meetings with, or in my head, I've set meetings with 4 different groups that I've never talked to. I don't know a lot about their company, minus them what's on the website. They've reached out to me before, but I want to make sure to give them dedicated time. So then that way, these 4 new groups, we're starting to bloom the relationship. What is going on? What does Carter Haston need? Where are the gaps? Can you guys help fill those gaps? If it's not now, it could be coming later, but at least we're starting to get to know each other. And then, I have my like mid-tier, like, hey, we've known each other, we're working together, we're trying to get things going for a new partnership. And then I have the next group, which is like, we're already working with each other. How's everything going? Sometimes like those don't need like the crazy meetings, but it's just to connect. And so that's kind of how I work my time, is like, I still want to make sure that I'm getting to know people and giving everybody a chance to, show me what they got, but also just like make sure like, hey, I didn't know this company did this and this is a gap that I'm needing. And maybe we're going to throw them into the pilot sooner than the year or whatever the case is. I think I heard Kim say that she like needs 3 years almost. And I was just like, wow, that's impressive.
Bowen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to say like maybe 2 years ago, she was on
crazy.
RetCon, one of the conferences.
Yeah.
And I remember she was like, look, it just takes time. Like it's a big deal. And making sure that like I said, technologies talk. And like sometimes, you know, we're a big RealPage user. So like, you know, RealPage has a lot of things that you need to set up before you get there, but then what's all being touched and like, you know, the flow. And it sounds easy, but it's really not. You know, you need to make sure you understand it, and then both sides are connected. And so I like my year that I'm saying, but like to hear that somebody vets 3 years, I'm like, I think that's amazing, because it takes a lot of time to keep it going and keep it warm and make sure that you're moving towards it, because we all have so many things going on. Like in my head, like, you know, I took on recruiting a year ago. I'm like, so not only am I like marketing mindset and making sure like as the company, are we doing everything that we should be from like a recruiting standpoint? What are we doing different than other companies? How do we do better with some of our KPIs? Like my brain is running all over the place. And so it can't just be like, you know, how do you do it? And it's a lot of planning. So like the business side of me, I'm planning everything. The personal side, I'm going with the flow. I have no cares in the world.
On the topic of people and valuing relationships, I imagine this also blends into how you and your you know, Carter Haston thinks about like resident relationships and valuing the resident. And with AI and all this tooling that's basically, you know, ideally automating things that should be automated, where do you feel like now also taking over recruiting, where do you feel like being in the industry for so long, there are opportunities for technology to actually help that you're not seeing current solutions for?
I think we have a really good balance on like certain things. I mean, I haven't seen something that's not out there yet. I mean, maybe I'm not thinking like bigger on it, but you know, our thing at Carter Haston is our people. We are never going to supply AI and take away a person. So our thing is reducing operational noise from whatever department we can. So I know from marketing, it happens more for us and maybe a little bit now with like the accounting side, and then some with maintenance. But for our side specifically, it's like, where can I help the leasing team, the onsite team, not have to worry about things? Because when I was a leasing agent back in 2011, things are way different. It's a lot more intense. I think I would love to do it again. So we're starting an In Your Shoes campaign because I want to get back into it and be like, hey, what's really changed? But
I like that.
And come with me.
Yeah,
It'll
that's
be fun.
cool.
We're gonna
It's
do
called
it
In Your Shoes campaign.
In Your Shoes campaign. We're gonna do it from a leasing to an assistant to a manager, and then the maintenance side we'll
What
kind
do
of
you
do
do?
together.
Is it going to be like, what is the, it's a whole day thing? Or
It's going to be a whole day thing. So I want my entire team
I would actually join you.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, let
let's
me
do
know.
it.
I'm serious. That would be really fun to do.
I'm pumped about it because it's been a while. And I think I recently shared on my RPM Careers day of my story of how I got into the industry. My manager, when I was at Riverstone Residential, her name's Stephanie Spano, she was the all-time manager, like biggest person who is like, you need to know every role to be successful. And she knew I wanted to go further. So like I was a leasing marketing supervisor. I had my leasing team. I knew my zone. But she was like, you need to know the accounting side. You need to know my side. You need to know like our maintenance supervisor side and the techs and the groundkeepers.
Yeah.
And she showed me every aspect of that business that really just opened my eyes to just everything. I think that's one thing we need to bring back is just understanding what people are doing, because that's
Yeah.
how you can understand where the gaps are. And so the leasing side is what I talk about, the gaps. There's so much that we can do for them, like, from reducing that operational noise. They just need to sell. They need in person or even virtual. Why should you live here? Why not choose the place across the street or over here or over here? We talked about this year the power of wow. What makes you different? What can you do different to make a resident prospect's experience wowed versus just like take them on the tour. No, do something extra. Give them that wow. And I learned that obviously from the Four Seasons, talk that they had at AIM last year. But then I took it to the next level. I'm like, how can we do the power of wow from every setup, from a prospect to even when they're leaving? And it was funny. We did a session in San Antonio 2 weeks ago. And I won't take credit for this, but Anthony from Jay Turner was, my sidekick for our panel for the power of wow. And he was like, even when you're leaving, he's like, a Spotify playlist of all the songs of like breakups, like Baby Come Back and like this other country song. And we played it and we're like, isn't that kind of crafty? Like how you could do something like that? It's like, how can you wow them? Like, that's a wow moment, from like, here is a Spotify playlist of our breakup and like, come back. We hope you see you again, whether it's at this property or Carter Haston property. But I want to do that with, a little bit of some AI assistance, but that's alleviating their time to do these moments, and have conversations in the relationships with the prospects and residents. What's going on in their lives? How can you make an impact of where they live? And I think that's our biggest thing is, why choose us? And I think it is going to be our people. One, I mean, the products, from A to B, they might have a bigger gym than us or, whatever it is, but like, why you really choose that place? And I want to be one of the things on the list. If they had to give top 3-5 reasons, I want it to be because of the people and like how we wowed them and how we're going to make their life at that property amazing and different than somebody else.
I love that. That's so cool. In your shoes, I'm going to steal that actually, because I might even just do that internally in my company as well. Because one of the things we do is one of our company values is move into the customer's office. But the idea is that like you have to actually experience the problem. So I don't know if you know the backstory, but my co-founder worked at SpaceX, worked with his dad at his structural engineering company. And when we were starting our business, actually quit and became a leasing agent for 9 months full time in Redwood City, California. And we built a property management company. And that got affected by COVID and we pivoted out of that into this business.
Okay.
But we referenced that as a folklore story in the company and as a way that we operate, because how else do you try to build a solution if you don't understand why? Like, it actually just like, it's so basic, but it doesn't make sense. Like you have to understand why. So I think in your shoes, that's really cool. I think that's a really cool idea. And then on the wow part, I actually experienced that on my flight to United. I was like sitting on my plane and like they came up to me and they were like, oh, like it's your birthday today. Like, happy birthday. Like, let me give you, do you want a drink or do you want like a snack and all that stuff? And I was like, I was like, for a second, I was like, wait, what? Like, how do they, Yeah. I was like, wait, what? How do you even know that? And I put it together because that had never happened. It was a wow experience. Aww. And I didn't want anything. So I turned it down, but I was like, wow, that definitely changes like so subtly, but my emotional connection to that brand.
It's the
right. And it's such a small thing, but it's like such a powerful thing. So I totally see how, using that in resident experiences. One of the things John Cook and I from Bell Partners, I did a podcast with him. We're talking about how AI effectively, like you said, should not reduce headcount. It should actually, now all those hours, ideally, the onsite team should be writing handwritten notes for tours and sending it out because they now have that time. They have that bandwidth. So I think it's like creating those moments that are really powerful.
Well, and I think that's where like, AI is everywhere. I use it all the time, constantly for like daily life and then of course work, but like everybody's attached to their devices and we know like people need some kind of connection and those that don't want it to completely fine. You have to prepare for those. So that's why you offer the virtual tours that if you don't want a person, you don't have to have a person. But on the other side, like I still love, like I'm the zero girl. Zero. And so we said that like on our training, like meeting in San Antonio was like, think about those +1 moments. You can always +1. And we did this concept where it's like, raise your hand. People are like this. I'm like, okay, raise it all the way up. And then they're like up here. And it's like, well, why didn't you do that the first time? So like you went here, here's your +1. Think about how you're always going to do that. Was that your best? And so we did this thing of like, okay, how can you do the power of wow from every situation? So for a renewal, how can you make that fun? Yes, it's at their home. They're probably signing it on their couch, but what if you just said, hey, do you have any questions? Do you want to come in and sign your renewal with us? You have it on your iPad, and then you have many bottles of champagne, or like maybe it's a new move-in gift that they haven't gotten a gift in a while, or I also know everybody's budget conscious, but even just saying, hey, can I walk this, through it with you? I think it's just going that extra step and just seeing if they want it, if they take it. Some people may, some people won't, but I think it's the thought that counts of just that, or like with maintenance, we do all the cheesy stuff of like still bringing that, great service is how we roll. And it's like leaving candy or like leaving some kind of token, gift, or even just a handwritten note, like, hey, we were in your unit, this is fixed, even though they get the digital copy through, the resident portal. That note is taking it to the next level. And so I will say, like, our maintenance team for Satisfax, we are at like the tip top for service. And I've got to throw it out there to our service team. Like, I've never seen a score that high as like a company. And I think it's because of our SEAL team and our maintenance like director and like everybody who like knows that that's where it starts. They see the people more than we do. So we knew that's how we tackle it. I think like we looked at our surveys and even our reviews, our maintenance team gets called out by name more than office team or just property comments in general. It's our service and it's our people, which I'm just like, how do we plus one it up on their side? How do we plus one on just somebody walking in and being like, hey, it's, just been a tough day. I've had a long day. And then next thing you know, like you got their, Starbucks order that, you knew it, or like you're listening. We talked about, pretend listening, active listening. We're like, truly listen. Like, don't select, listen and, take what you want, or pretend listen and just be like, I know what you're saying, or I'm not paying attention. Truly listen and figure out what those nuggets are that you can like, plus one on, and just find that experience. But it takes time. And in order to have that time, you've got to take away some of the other stuff that, they can't do. So like social media is a full-time job, I think. And, we're giving them guides, exactly what to post, how to, get the frame of the video or the photo. And like, if they did it all in 1 day or 2 days, like we even timed it out. Like, this will take you 2 hours to have content for an entire month, or with some of our leads and stuff, we're bringing in AI on like, hey, they're going to follow up, for you. So then that way you can focus on in-person tours, or like maybe making that phone call that, if AI is doing it or not, or like what's that extra that you can do from the time of not having to follow up on the 60 leads that came in that day or whatever it is. So like, we're just trying to find those nuggets and feed off of them and make it wow, because we were just talking about Nashville and LA. There are too many places to live. Like, it's absolutely crazy. I think I shopped 5 comps last week, and it's just overwhelming. And so like, why would I choose one over the other? And I think it's the emotional connection of like why you choose United, or why I choose Southwest, or like why we choose the products that we do. It's the same thing for apartments. Why do they choose you? And that was what we were trying to get across, is it's you. You have to make that impact.
Ariel, this is awesome. This is great. I really, there's like so many little like nuggets. I'm just like imagining the clips and like the things that people are going to take away. I mean, I really like that In Your Shoes campaign thing. It's like really cool.
We're really pumped. It's been a while since we've all been in the leasing world. So like, that's why I say like, I think we need to go live it, especially like, because we keep putting in the tech and we're like, try this. I'm like, let's go back. I don't think you realize how busy, the team is. Cause like my team's remote, everywhere, Atlanta, Dallas, Indiana. So like they're not having to go into the office, or like I think Rebecca has stuff in Dallas, but like they're not in the office seeing it. I get on site a little bit more often because I'm here and we have this is the biggest market for Carter Haston. So being able to see like, hey, the phones are like ringing like crazy, or we had, 10 tours yesterday. How was I supposed to do my, CRM leads, or like, how was I supposed to do social media? I couldn't even take a lunch. I think those are the things that we forget, that they're in the moment, just like we are in probably our Excel spreadsheets or reports. They're doing the action part. So I was like, we need to go back to it. And then I really want to push this power of wow. So I'm like, it's been a while since I partnered up with our, facilities and maintenance and service people that I need to get in there. Like, how's everything going? Like, they always talk about like I can eat off their shop floor. It's so clean. I was like, let me go check it out. Why do we get these like notes saying that they're amazing and 5 stars? I want to see it.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for this. This has been a lot of fun.
Oh, thank you. We've been planning this for a while.
I know.
I think we started in November.
It was before I even. Was it November? Yeah.
Yeah, because it was around Thanksgiving and you were in Austin.
Yeah.
And I was going to come down. And then we're like, okay, when are we going to meet up next? And you're like, I'm going to go here. I'm like, no, I'm not going there. And so I'm just excited to have you in Nashville and do this.
I know. Thank you. I'm glad we got to do this before we head off today. So thank you so much.
Same. Thanks.
Thanks.